So I don't think an entrepreneur is somebody who starts a company. I think an entrepreneur is somebody who grows a successful company. So if you're going to grow a successful company, you better have audited statements. You're not going to have a board. You're not going to go to the bank. You're not going to have equity investors. So they determine that. So we've built upon a whole system of evaluating income statements and balance sheets and so forth. So when I say the data, it's 70 questions, interviews, and audited financial statements. So it is incredibly deep on these companies. And so when we look at it, just following on what the panelists have said, you can look at the individual, the firm, the industry, and the market. And we look at all of those. And I'll just answer one question just to build on what they said, but we could talk about any one of what does it take to grow a firm, to play in the industry, to succeed in those emerging markets. But I'll go right to the individual, the first one. And I want to reinforce everything that my fellow panelists have said about the individual. But we asked a question because we can. You know, they want to be ranked. We get to ask them whatever we want, and bless them, they answer the questions. So we said, what did you do before you founded this company? And what did you do before you did that? And what did you do before you did that? We just went back and back and back. And then we have the Inc. 500 data, which is now the Inc. 5000, by the way, and 20 markets. And we said, how are these companies different? Exactly your point. We assumed that if they were in South Africa and Beirut and you know Karachi, they were going to be different. And to reinforce the prior research, they're not. In fact, 75% of the all-world high-growth companies look exactly alike, and they look exactly like the Inc. 500. They look like they're the same man, mostly men, the same man. He just appears in these different industries, in these different markets. So the question becomes, who is this man? And we wrote a paper in the Harvard Business Review called The High Intensity Entrepreneur to sort of answer the beginnings of that. And we've done a lot more work. We only had like 200 companies then, now we have 1,000. And here's who the man is. And he's the guy. And we just need to sort of understand, he's the guy who goes to 17 million. It's very different from a lot of other companies. He is very well educated. He's been to a mainstream university in his country or abroad. He has a graduate degree. He's often an engineer, but sometimes science, business, so on and so forth. And then the most important thing, finishes the graduate degree. He does not become an entrepreneur. We couldn't figure that one out for a while. But he does something, and all 75% of them do the same thing. They go and work for a leading global enterprise. So whether that's Shell, if they're from countries that are more natural resource driven, whether it's Pepsi, Procter & Gamble, Aramco, a major airline, the military, the government, they work for the top dog in a space. And so they're not an entrepreneur as such. They learn how to build systems. If you work at Pepsi, it's about market analysis, attacking the market, delivering on the market, following up. They know how to go into markets. Then they know how to do HR systems, procurement systems, I mean, everything. When you're at Pepsi, you learn all the, I was a baby investment banker at Morgan Stanley. I can assure you what I learned, what I was schooled in is systems. I can do those systems with my eyes closed. They can do those systems with their eyes closed. But then at about 30, they look around and they say, I really don't want to be 60 years old at Pepsi. And I find a fellow friend, I said, you know, look at this market in Beirut. There's something very interesting in the food and beverage arena right here. Let's go do this. We go off, amazingly, to our Pepsi manager, and we say, look at this opportunity right there. And Pepsi says, it's so small. And we say, but it's so big. Said, okay, so we go off with the Pepsi brand behind us, the Pepsi network, all the suppliers. We know the industry. And off we go in Beirut, and this is actually a true story, the #1 company we had on the Lebanon 25. They go, and I pick them up 7 years later, where they're 17 million, growing 40% a year, 200 employees, that's the average. So this pattern makes complete sense if you kind of reverse engineer it, and it represents the Inc. 500, the Arabia 500, the South Africa 35, the Pakistan list, the Turkey. They come from mainstream, super effective system building entities. They go to the small arena, these huge market opportunities, but they're not thinking about how to go from 2 to 4 people. They're thinking about how to go back from 2 to 2,000 or 20,000, wherever they came from.